Good morning, friends. Good morning, audience. Today, I'm going to continue on this Soylent green dollar, Soylent yellow gold, and above all, the exchange, which is Soylent crypto or Soylent stock market. But I have a theory to present to you here. Something hit me yesterday or last night, and that is Simonson, or who I call Simonson in the blocked videos, may really be, and Sheryl, right? May really be John Kennedy and Jackie Kennedy. Uh, that he was too good and he went rogue or something of the sort. So that's what to God means, to God it was necessary because he has become a catastrophe or volatile or something of the sort is what they were saying in the movie. Sheryl, I know Sheryl, or let's say Jackie and Essel are in fact relatives of Sol Ras. He was a good man, but he was so now that subscribes or present us with the theory that Sol Ras is really behind the assassination or his alliance or his entity or something of the sort, his world. Let's put it this way. And there's such a theory, and actually, although it's not proven, it's pretty much what it is. Uh, uh, so that's what I'm thinking. Is that really Simonson? This is the other theory. Simonson is really Sol Ras, and that's when they went right. Uh, you know, like see, I'm sorry, Simonson. Simonson is Jack Kennedy, and that's what I'm thinking in this movie is that he had to be eliminated, and after he died, you get the beef. Sheryl got the beef, and so on and so forth. So maybe when after he was killed, Sheryl went there to get the beef, right? She got the beef. Uh, she had like this very special relationship with with that man in the cage. That's probably the treasury or whatever it is. That's where they store the government's money and so on, whether it's virtual or literal or you see what I'm saying. So now I'm thinking Sheryl is not as innocent as she sounded, or as it's made to look. So that's a very likely theory that's who they mean by that, right? And well, let's continue. And if you pause it. So again, after they display that Soylent Green title of the movie on the screen, they start talking about the 40 million and that 20 million of them is unemployed. And there's the first stage removal of people and so on. Maybe that's through a pandemic or basically taking their money from the banks or putting them in their houses where they start spending their savings, and then the banks now gets rid of these assets or capitals, and they, as they do, they don't have to pay uh, 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 interest rate on it anymore or interest on it anymore. So, as you can see, in New York, half of the people, they're penniless now. They live out on the streets. They sleep on the stairwells, on the steps, in the buildings, just to shelter themselves, say, from rain or something. And they're in mass, right? As you can see from pictures, they're all over the place. Like I said, is that the pandemic or is that just going penniless and then going out on the street? I don't know. I mean, a lot of things were going on as I noticed in the past few years. And it was supposed to have culminated in 2022. But now, here is a note for you. Uh, there is the Russia invasion of Europe, of course, didn't work, but that was a cover for what's called replacement of the European races by something called Eurasian. Don't get me wrong, I have a Eurasian blood in me, and this is not exactly racism, but rather than the facts on the grounds that the drive or what's going on. I'm trying to show you what's going on. And Dugin, the hunchback of the Kremlin, right? Was actually in many of his presentations and interviews was in fact presenting the new Eurasian thing, right? And that's what is suitable for supposedly Putin and his alliance in the West, and above them Israel and China and so on. And in the pandemic, it seems to me like if the pandemic killed so many people, I think it's killed certain type of people. As I narrated to you earlier in the introduction of the movie, that in the introduction of the movie, that they showed you certain type of eyeglasses frame, and these are not masking, or they're not wearing mask. Okay, we'll continue. So first stage and non-permit. Uh, Non-permit, I don't know. So apparently this is removal. It is almost literal or visual, but it's got to do with people. Uh, Either taking out their savings and their spending and their capitals and so on, or really doing away with them. And things go out on in this world, and the soul races and are in fact able to you know black out the media, and block the media and information. They have very big control over media and information and politics and so on. So they are able to really mask all that if they want to, from one place to another and so on and so forth. I do not know. I haven't been to China, and I don't think I'll ever be to China. Go to China, or I've seen in the Middle East what happened in Syria, and I've seen. I am certain that Russia was going to come into Europe and basically do away with those Scandinavians and Germanics, and like probably once and for all, maybe not total genocide, rather a lot of cleaning up, like similar to gulags and so on, and then whatever remains will basically transform into something new and not know they were Germanics or Scandinavians. So first stage removal, I don't know, maybe this is supposed to have happened in 2022, and all indicators say so. However, all indicators say it didn't work. Okay, we continue. So I don't know who Santini is. I think Santini, the governor, is a cover-up or a ploy, or maybe the official government. I don't know, but it seems to me like his only role is to play as a conspirator, right? But I don't know. However, when Charlton Heston turned on the TV, that's the media, right? Now, Sol Ras comes a little bit later and then switches the TV off, meaningly, like you don't want to have anything to do with that. There is better communications channels that nobody knows about in their TV. Or elsewhere, there are many communication channels that nobody can know about. I mean, any two people can establish a communication channel or protocol, and nobody ever will ever know, right? So that's what it is. And now Charlton Heston Thorne is about to shave. I'm going to make commentary on this one. So now the commentary on TV is that the Soylent Green is really, in fact, which is $1, and that it is harvested from high energy plankton all over the world. That is metaphor for the dollar being the linchpin of currency and financial transactions and valuation and so on right now. I mean, seconded only by the euro. Really nothing else. There are second degree currency is the euro. Third degree currency is like other currency with major economies, not like main economies, rather major economies. And then there are non-existent currency that are local, similar to those third world countries, dealing with their own currency and so on. As the Fed lend them, and then they collect interest rate on those dollars. But that's what it is. High energy plankton is really the dollar, because it is really dominant in the world. High energy plankton, right from the oceans here, means the world. They're collecting. It's the currency of the world is what they're trying to say. Okay, point about the popularity of Soylent Green, and that's it's in short supply. This is a farce, folks. This is a lie, brazen lie. Why? Because the currency itself, if you look on a dollar or dollar bill, or if you look on 100, I think there's, I say probably 14 digits with like letters, a combination of letters and digits. 14 of those alphanumeric digits, alphanumeric characters or digits, uh, or 11 or even 9. So I asked my son one day, and he's a mathematician, right? How many can you print out of that? I think he either told me 92 trillion or 92 billion. I don't remember. A unit, he means you can print that much unit. Now, suppose you ran out of those. You can always increase the number, that serial number of that dollar unit by 1 digit or alphanumeric character, right? And then that doubles the amount, or even triples, or even, because if you know, like just increasing one on a 14 digit or 11 alphanumeric character multiplies the number by many times. So it's not a matter of shortage. Let me tell you something about cryptocurrency, and that's of course a ploy or an excuse to replace the dollar with cryptocurrency. Dollar is not controllable. You can take your dollar anywhere, right? And then they will take it, right? So long it's not, of course, counterfeit. And then you can send your monkey, train your monkey to go to the grocery store or anywhere else, and then pay $1 and get, like, you send a letter with them, and the seller or the dealer or the trader will accept the money, right? You go to the bank and they just put it through a certain machine, right, to verify its authenticity, and it works, right? If they want to drop your dollar in your pocket, they cannot do that. Or you cannot go to a, say, market, and then they will block your $1. They cannot do that, right? They have to do it on all dollars. In the bank, they can do something in the bank, right, to block your credit card or something, and it happened to me. However, falsehood, injustice, you name it, right? But these guys, of course, if they can kill Shimonson, they don't care, right? Or if they can put 20 million people out of business and so on, and or they can light up wars, they don't care, right? Cryptocurrency is fine-grained control, meaningly they can control a certificate or 1 unit in your pocket. You may think it's anonymous. It's not anonymous, folks. Cryptocurrency, it's well known who owns what and how much and so on. It's where did you buy it. It has a full record. So to allow cryptocurrency to flourish or substitute the dollar or currencies of the world, that's it. You yourself, whoever subscribed or acknowledged or dealt with cryptocurrency, you may get some dollars at the beginning, because it's on the stock market, right? It goes up and down, and that is under control, right? You are digging under yourself, right? You're walking over quicksand. I mean, you are assuring that your future is no longer valid. You're going to be living something similar to 1984 or Animal Farm, which is really an extension of they all circle around the same, within the same spin zone as that of communism. And so you eat, produce children like animals, and live on. And sometimes like chickens, after they stop laying eggs, you kill them for meat, right? Believe me, nothing short of that. When you acknowledge cryptocurrency, this is it, folks. If cryptocurrency take over instead of the dollar, I say goodbye to humanity. Okay, pausing again. So now Santini and the interviewer, the anchor, are talking about Tuesday, Soylent Green Tuesday. I don't know what that is, but I heard the song by Moody Blues, Tuesday afternoon, and so on. I really don't know why Tuesday is Soylent Green Day. Do people get like their dollars on Tuesday or something? But now Saul Ross switches off the TV, and he calls it, I think, bullshit or something of the sort, and or schmuck. And that signifies a couple of things, in my opinion. One is, like, this is too much information for the public. That's enough. Turn it off. Or it could be that the real information is not flowing across, like cut it off is what he's trying to say, or anymore blurting would alert the people to what's going on, right? And it may appear to you that he's against this Soylent Green being in shortage and being replaced by cryptocurrency thing, but it's really the other way around. If you look at the financial situation of the US and the world for that matter, it is as such, right? It's them who is trying to convert into virtual currency or cryptocurrency. Uh, it's them who is running the stock market. It's them who's ordering the governments or occupying the governments, right, to issue executive orders and so on, lots of trillions, and you got yourself super billionaires. How do you become super billionaire? I mean, just don't take what I just said for granted. Ask yourself, how does somebody become a super billionaire? You have got whole corporations, right, that own factories, that have outlets, that employ people, thousands of people, and sometimes hundreds of thousands, right? And they barely make money. Sometimes they even don't, right? Like their expenditure and their overhead and so on. But then you get somebody who sits in some office or cafe in New York in the greeting, that's from greedy, right? Greeting and frenzy, Frenzington Institute of Economics in New York, and they become super billionaire. How do you become super billionaire? You got what Ralph Nader mentioned as a royal or king's welfare. Like you got like some companies that are bullshit, right? And they get billions on a daily basis. I heard that this big company that sounds like a jungle in the Amazon, right? In the Amazon rainforest, right? They never made money. They always get money from the government and even from the European Union to continue operating, right? And then the owners supposedly are super billionaires or something of the sort. On your account and everybody else's account here, on the account of those people who are living in the stairwells and are penniless. They are no longer able to make ends meet, right? All right, continue. Okay, now the chat begins between Saul and Thorn, right? I don't know the relationship between the two, but Thorn reminds me of something in the Sam Neill movie, remember? Ambassador Thorn? No? So anyways, if you notice, Thorn is now shaving, right? But the camera is looking at him from the side. It's a side profile or side way shooting, right? And then against him there's a tank that is green tank, and that's Soylent Green storage, right? Green tank. That's where the Soylent Green or the dollar is. And then the decal on the tank is blue, and that is exactly on the mouth of against the mouth, Soren's mouth, right, or Charlton Heston, while he's shaving. Now this denotes him shaving the dollars, and then the blue is eating it, is what you're trying to say. Replacing it for something weird, right? But people are dying in the millions, So the first stage removal is really 20 million or 50% of the population, is what I'm trying to say here. So that's what that scene means, when Charlton Heston is shaving, and then the blue bubble here, right against his mouth, that's eating, right? And then the shading is really the green tank or the green Soylent Green or the dollar, right? Now I was joking. I thought it was a bubble gum and it was given to him by Sol Ross. And now, of course, they start talking about other CEOs and officials and so on. This one has they have their secrets, right? All right, continue. So now the records of those people, those CEOs, those men of power in the United States is being discussed. This one has rapes and so on. How do they know? They know. They got their own ways and means, mainly through women, right? But then he says to him, get the hell out of Manhattan. It's an abrupt statement, it's like a transverse, it sits between the flow of the conversation. Suddenly abruptly cuts, and then he says, get the hell out of Manhattan, and then he continues. That expression is irrelevant and disconnected from the sentence or the flow What he means by that, he's talking to the soul races is like, look, you guys are sitting in Manhattan. The scope of your operation and life and so on should really expand, and you shouldn't be concentrated or sitting in one place. That's what he said. And then, of course, the plot continues against those people who really, uh, I don't know, I mean, maybe legitimately became rich, maybe, I don't know, but it sounds to me like you didn't have to be illegitimate to become rich when those Anglo-Saxons came here. And prior to them, you may not think that's true. Prior to them, there were Turks and Arabs and who came to this land, you know, and they even had wars. There's even record uh, uh, American native tribes being Muslims. Really. Locating the files takes time, and there is an exchange. Now that's a different exchange than the one we know of, the cryptocurrency uh, or uh, the stock market or so on. So the exchange here in this movie is like means different things depending on the conversation or the meaning of the conversation. So in regards to unemployment, he's mentioning that 20 million guys are out of job and so on. Uh, in 2022, I think it's from what I gather, you know, the events and the indicators and, you know, you name it, right? There's probably more than that. Sometimes I wonder if there are whole cities that are empty now, right? Uh, things are morphing, this world is morphing into something pretty sinister. It's pretty completely different from what the world we knew, right? Uh, uh, and I do recall Rabbi Trump saying something in his campaign in 2016 that 5 million South and Central American individuals who were here in the country immigrated, went back home because there are no longer jobs for them. So they just went back. He said that in one of his either debates or rallies during the time of Obama, is what he was trying to say. And I believe that. And I think it's gotten worse than that. So when you hear about unemployment being 1.6 or 3.6 and so on, uh, I was like, they're brazen lies, you know, the unemployment is probably 56 or I don't know. And then I heard that there's classifications. So if you're unemployed for, say, 1 year, then you're not counted or something of the sort. So the Solras and the Thorns, right, they always devise schemes and scams and schemes and they cook up cook the books and manipulate numbers. And when they dispense like 1 trillion into the stock market by way of Joby, that's Joe Biden or Trump or Obama or whoever, Bush or Clinton or whatever, right? During the Clinton years, that dot-com bust basically siphoned off a lot of savings from the Americans, and then before that, Bush actually was it? No, after that, Bush signed an executive order or a law that went into effect, you know, lowering the Social Security, blah 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 blah. I mean, that's what I hear. Could it be that all that is an act to induce certain thoughts? Possible, I don't know. But from what I'm seeing is things are changing rapidly and a lot, not to the desire or to the children of the Soul Ras, because apparently it's not going their way, and so on. So that's a possibility. That's a possibility. I don't know. We'll see. He says, besides, you love me. I don't think this is the kind of love that is fatherly or brotherly or anything else. Maybe it's the brotherly love. I don't know. But Soul Ras is seems to me like he's the father of this Thorn, who is the same concept in my commentary about the movie 2001 Snake Odyssey as the squirt. Maybe he adopted him when he was little, maybe he raised him, and maybe he brainwashed him, maybe, you know, he did so and so to him, like trained him into this mentality. You know, human beings are very intelligent, but they're pliable as well, and so on. And there's a lot of criminal acts done by the Soul Ras against them, in destroying them, and destroying their lives, and so on and so forth. So maybe that's why he said, "You love me." Is I don't know, but he's also the low arm of the law that Soylent conducts his business within the government by way of Thorn that he raised from whenever he was like a small kitten or something of the sort. That's what I think this. Okay, the story of the margarine being turned, I think, means stale, right? Or no longer edible. Here, this is like a psychological projection that the Solgas are poor, they hardly eat anything and so on and so forth, right? And their food is stale and they live in a squalor, right? But they have books in the back end. Books usually indicative of being highbrow and erudite and well learned and genius and intelligence. They reflect trying to impress on you or on your on your psyche that that's who they are. I don't see that. I looked throughout my career and experience and so on. There's no such thing, folks. Everything that you see that is relevant to humanity, being human, is disguise, a superficial projection, right? It's a disguise, really. It's an illustration, if you will, to impress on you such so and so. Where humans are very careful when we look at other people and see that they may be well learned, we begin to be guarded because we don't want to like fall into a trap or something of the sort. What's in that house in that squalor is really dollar. It's very similar to the house of Fagin in that movie, 1958 movie by BBC. Fagin and his children, the children that he utilizes to pickpocket people. So this movie is pretty close to that movie. Let me get to that movie name. Give me a second. So Thorn here is similar to Oliver Twist in the in the movie, the boy in the movie Oliver Twist in the squalid house of Fagin. Fagin. He sends out the boys and the pickpocket and so on. This is on a larger scale on a government. I would say this movie is almost they joins or share the same foundation or inner core of doing things. So Solras here is Fagin, right? And they go pickpocket and so on and so forth. Right? That's what it is. And then now Thorn is probably Oliver Twist, right? Is what this is all about. I called it I wanted to write a book on that movie, called it the satanic machinations or machinations in the squalid house of Fagin. But that's what this is here, really. And then, of course, Saul Ras being Fagin, he's getting stuff and collecting. But now, instead of sending the boys to go pickpocket, right? Now he has them as an arm in the government and law enforcement agency, and now he's backing on pickpocketing the whole world, right? Swallowing the whole world by way of cryptocurrency and virtuality. He doesn't care if people die on the street. So there's no the notion of them being poor and so on is not true, folks. It's a matter of miserly personality and stinginess and covetousness and hoarding and greed and so on and so on. It's nature, if you ask me. So when Saul says tasteless, odorless crud is, dollars, it's not good. Now this guy wants to talk super billionaires, right? And that's how it goes. Again, Thorn is really he's the one that he jabs or kills the other people with, right? Those CEOs and so on. So it's like it has its meaning, right? But then again, Thorn is really Oliver Twist. The boy who was kidnapped or sold in the market or something of the sort. And he's taken into that organization where they fleece people or pickpocket or something of the sort. But that's what it is, folks. And this now, what's going on in the world of this Fagin or Solras and then Thorn and Oliver Twist and his companion children, right? It's really extensive and big, folks. Really big. Really, really, really big and solid. And, coherent and so on, and wars and terrorism, you name it, you name it, you name it. People are dying in the millions and millions, and their money is being gone, and their wealth being stolen, and their livelihood is being destroyed, and their ethics and their family and so on. This world, according to Fagan and Solras, is now being turned into an animal farm, no more or less. You've seen it in the last century. You know, you can talk about terrorism all you want to. It's their problem, right? It's their doing. But how about communism and Nazism, Pol Pot and Mao Zedong and Ayatollahs and so on? They killed hundreds of millions in cold blood, folks. The gulags, you know, the jails or the dungeons in Syria and Iran and here and there. It's unimaginable, folks. You know, and the human mind cannot take it. You know, the horror and the atrocities and the ruthlessness and the vicious, gory details that they do in there. What's wrong with them? What's wrong with them? Okay, so I think I'm gonna stop here. But then again, you know, the analogy of Oliver Twist movie to this, they conjoined or they join at the hip here. All the different approach, different scope, different target, different pickpocketing. Now it's no longer pickpocketing. Now it's cryptocurrency, right? That's what this movie is all about, and the plan appeared to be happening, and it should have been culminating in 2022, but it didn't, of course. Excuse me, pandemics, people out of work from home, you name it, right? You name it. And the government of the United States is stealing trillions that you don't hear about and forwarding. I know this, the IPO, and supposedly I think either it closed after the government paid the IPO for the people, or it's closing now, right? Like we do the work or something of the sort. What's that business? They pay billions on daily basis for certain blah blah mobile, right, or electric car. For what, right? Uh, now, that's a problem, folks. No matter what your job function is, you cannot be part of this world, folks. You cannot propagate what they're doing. You're going against yourself. You may say that you need a job, you work for them, and you don't want to fight against them, or you don't want to spread the truth, or resent or resist, right? But you're digging your own grave in the future and that of your own posterity. Okay, we'll continue in the next video. Have a nice day, my friends.